All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Profit Share Mastery podcast. I am your host, Pres McKissick.
And I am your other host, Linda McKissick.
Hey, Linda. How are you?
I'm good, Pres. We're about to talk about our favorite subject.
We are. And I'm really disappointed for those who are listening to this on a podcast. What you don't see right now is Linda is at her mountain house in Montana. It has the most beautiful Christmas tree you've ever seen behind her. What are those circle things on there, Linda?
They're bears on ski slopes.
Welcome to the Profit Share Mastery Podcast with your hosts, Linda and Pres McKissick.
Two cool things that pertain to profit share on this. One, a KW agent here in Whitefish, Montana decorated it for me. She does that on the side. So we're sharing the love with our KW family. And then number two, this is a house that Profit Share built. So you just never know what your profit share is going to get you.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, speaking of Profit Share, we have an awesome guest for you this month, and we're really excited to have Steve Moore, who I think you're going to really love his story, love his strategies. He's someone who's having success with our Profit Share site system. So with that being said, Steve, thanks for being on with us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
So Linda's famous. Linda, you want to ask your famous question?
Yeah, I always like to say, Steve, you were born and then what happened? And depending on how old they are, I say Cliff Note version usually. Although yesterday, Dana and I had 11-year-olds, so I didn't have to say Cliff Note version. But bring us up to date. Real estate, how'd you get in real estate? How'd you get to KW? How'd you get to Profit Share?
All right, I'll try the Cliff Note. I'm a little bit older. My love for real estate started right around 20 years old. I bought my first home. And at the time I was working at Ford Motor Company, and it was a fixer-upper. I really didn't know what I was doing, so I kind of learned hands-on shortly after I got my builder's license and started doing rentals, fix and flips, and building a few homes, that type of stuff. And I did that throughout my 20s, and then got married, stopped doing that for a while. And after that, I spent 20 years at Ford. I took the buyout, and I became a certified financial coach through Dave Ramsey.
Okay.
And I did that briefly because I circled back around to real estate. So when I was coaching people, a lot of times they were house poor, and part of the coaching was to get on stable ground, you need to sell the house and let's start over. My wife said, get your license. I didn't want my license. A really good friend of mine was a broker. So I just, sent him to him. And I was like, why am I not getting a referral? So I got my license, and I knew right then real estate was where I belonged. So started researching brokerages, had no clue of Keller Williams, never heard of them. And just started researching them a little bit. And what really got me was God, family business. So I said, no one else is saying that, so I need to go explore this. And as soon as I explored it, I was in, drank the Kool-Aid.
And what area are you in, Steve?
I'm in the suburb of Detroit.
Okay, I figured since you said Ford, that's probably where you were.
Yep.
That's awesome. Okay.
And so, Steve, how long have you been a licensed agent for?
A little over 14 years.
14. And so your whole time with KW, or were you at another brokerage first?
Nope, KW full time.
I love it. I love it.
Well, and Linda, what a testament to the values, right? There's people are attracted to people who take a stand for something. And I think, we talk about polarization sometimes in marketing and or sales and things like that. And people who are for something usually means you're maybe against other things, right? And people who are in the middle, you're polarized to one or the other. So I just love that KW takes a stand for what we value and what we believe. And that's proof that attracts the right kind of people.
Yep. Love it. So Steve, can you remember when someone first mentioned Profit Share to you? Like, was it before you joined? Was it during when you joined? Do you ever remember people trying to talk to you about Profit Share at all or anything?
So I learned about it early on. I can't remember, it may have been in my first year or two.
Yeah.
It was never really taught or pushed at our brokerage, but it did attract me for sure. And So I did try without any real guidance or pathway, so to speak, or any system throughout the years. And it took me, the whole 14 years I ended up before February of this year, I had 10 people in my line. Now I had more, they've come and gone.
Right.
January 1 of 24, I had 10 people in my downline. 6 on the first, 4 in my second. So today I have 26, 20 on my first line and 6 in my second line.
That's awesome.
That's not bad for a few months' work.
It's not.
Yeah.
Love that.
That's just testimony to, when you put the right motivation with the right system, things happen. Great things happen because you probably always had the motivation to do it. It's just finding the right system that worked. So I'm just curious, the first 10 people that you got, were they new in real estate? Were they existing agents? And kind of talk to us a little bit about that.
Both, mostly probably new agents. A couple of them turned out to be rock stars. Others have come and gone, moved to other brokerages, or they're still at the brokerage. Still great agents, but real estate's not for everyone, and you don't find that until you're in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So true. So, Steve, so you decided, I think, you heard one of my presentations back in, I think, January, February, something like that. You got started. Kind of walk through, like, what did you learn as you got in about the process? Like, what was different about what you did before versus what you're doing now?
So before I was just looking for people, and I still do, but if I'm in a restaurant and have great service, I go to a furniture store or someone knocks on my front door trying to sell something, I'm paying more attention to their skills than I am what they're actually doing, selling or anything, right? And I've, hey, we need to talk. Here's my card, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now I still do that, but I focus more on, I love the system where I just look at my calendar and the appointments are there, right? I wish I could do that with my real estate business.
That's what we said. I said, Chris, if we could figure that out, man, we'd have
make a fortune.
Exactly. Exactly. But your guys' system, it's amazing. Right. And so now I focus on, I do get a lot of experienced agents, which
wow.
I don't know what
Linda, his numbers are amazing. Steve, do you have any of those? Because some of the ones you share on our mastermind, I was blown away by.
Yeah, the one thing I don't have the exact numbers, but off of memory, as to date, I had 788 leads come in. I think 55 of them were licensed. And I can't remember the number that were in school.
I think it was about an equal amount. It was close to the same.
A little more, about 74.
Okay, so maybe
like
70. Yeah, 74.
Yeah, 74 in school.
So, I mean, think about that. Like, Linda, think about that. Where else can you go and get 788 people, and then you've got 55 of which are licensed agents who are either just getting in, right? Because we tell them on our form, if you're within 2 weeks of taking your test, put your licensed agent. You're basically about to be, and that's also a cue to people like Steve who are using the system that this is a hot lead, right? We need to call this person. Let's get them on the phone and get them into KW ASAP. And then 74 in-school people. That's amazing. So is there anything unique, Steve, that you've done in doing this, or do you just kind of follow the play?
I've followed the play, but I've tweaked it a little bit. Added some more drips in there. If they went with another broker, I added a drip in that. So we hit them once a month and just not pushing, but just,
value.
saying, hey, this is what we're doing over here at KW, right?
That's smart.
And anyone who scheduled an appointment with me but missed it, we put them on a drip. The worldwide, we made a drip for them. Yeah, we've actually had a few of those, not a whole lot, but we've had a few of them. It's difficult to have phone calls with them because I'm sleeping when they're awake and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the biggest one is the people in my downline. We put a drip together that once a month I'm sending them something of value. Like the first drip is you need to read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, right? And I send a link to like here where you can go buy it.
Yeah.
The next one is my buyer presentation, and then the listing presentation. And then when we get down the line 6 months or so, I start introducing them to profit sharing. And the tagline is like how to work at Keller Williams for free.
Yeah.
I love it.
Steve, can I make a recommendation for the people that you said join another brokerage?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you've probably heard somewhere in the, I don't know, the mastermind groups or something. You've probably heard the other formula. That's the attraction formula for existing agents, where you if they're an existing agent, it's the R plus V plus VG over T, where
Yes.
you start dropping
Linda's formula
into the value gap, because that creates reciprocity. I would recommend that part of your campaign to the people that picked another brokerage is just a little bit of something to help drop in their value gap. Because what happens when you recruit that way, then what happens is the chasm of what their company is doing and what you're doing for them gets broader and broader, to the point where they think this is ridiculous. I've gotten more help from Steve, who I'm not even with his company, than I am from this broker that's not helping me at all. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So just like you do with your people that are in your downline, it might not be as much. It might be a 1 page, or think about when you were a new agent. Most new agents, what they need is leads. So it might be one idea that you got from something on how to get leads. Or, hey, if you're interested in a play from the playbook on how to run social media, reach out to me and we'll have coffee. Do you see what I'm saying? You're going to start dripping into their value gap and creating that reciprocity and beholdenness, so that when they do think of going somewhere else, it's no doubt where they're going. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, it's great.
Yep.
Yeah. And it might have to be, Linda, because these people are all over the country. It might have to be virtual coffee.
Oh, that's true. I didn't forgot
But
about
hey,
that. Yeah.
thanks to Zoom, you can do that, right?
Hey, let's have a coffee in Zoom.
Me and Steve and Linda can have our virtual coffee time. But I love that, Linda, because really and we kind of mastermind around some of these ideas. And I know Steve is got some cool things in his drip, but things like you mentioned it, the 1-pagers Jason has built, the MREA podcast. My goodness, if we're not leveraging that, it is one of the best tools we have in this company. I have used it over and over again in our own masterminds with agents, and it is so valuable and so good. So what's nice is we've got more value today than I'd argue we've ever had at KW from a shareable resource.
Can I say something to that though? Because people are all over the country, what I would recommend he do is he takes notes and he gives them one idea from it instead of just the podcast. Because when he just sends them the podcast, they're thinking KW, they're not thinking Steve, and they may go to the nearest office without thinking of Steve. But whereas if Steve is the funnel and the ideas are coming from Steve, it doesn't matter where he's getting them, right?
So Linda, I'm gonna regurgitate what I think I heard you say. So I'll give a good example. I've been telling everyone, go listen to the episode of Laura Jalot, who talks about giveaways, because I think it's one of the best ways every agent should be using it to build their database if they want to really get serious about growing their database bigger. What Steve might do in that case is say, hey, I listened to this great podcast episode of one of our KW agents, or I got this idea from one of our KW agents.
That's what I would say.
Who is doing giveaways, and this is how she did it, and this was her results, or this is the result she got. If this interests you and you want to know more about it, let me know and we can hop on a Zoom and discuss, or something like that. Linda, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Here's one idea I learned. If you'd like more, reach out and let's do a coffee over Zoom. That now is putting Steve as the source, the validity, the resource and all of that stuff. And so we're trying to plant Steve's name in their mind so that when they do go to a KW office, they don't just walk in and go, well, I don't know, I've heard KW from somewhere.
Right. I love that. I think that's a cool idea. That's great. So Steve, man, that's amazing. You've generated quite a bit of leads. Anything else that stands out to you about the last, whatever it's been, 10 months now or so that you've been doing this, that you think if other people want to go and, I mean, in a few months, you've doubled, you've gone from 10 people to 30 people, right? In your downline, is that right?
Well, 26. Yep.
26, right? If others want to follow suit, what would you tell them to do?
First, just start, right?
Mhm.
Just start the process. And even if you fumble through it, just start it, right? It gets easier, it gets better. You can do it on your own time.
Mhm.
You know, for me, the journey with this has been really interesting. God has a way of doing things. And so I run a small team as well. I have 4 people on my team. Before this year, I had 8 people on my team, and it got dismantled a bit. And I didn't understand at the moment, but my mom passed in December, and I had to take care of her estate. So during that, I could not have run my business with the 8 team members the way I was and handle the estate. So I did take a step back a little bit. You know, it's a smaller team right now, but I did have time to jump on a 20-minute phone call a couple times a day, a couple days a week, right?
Yeah.
And so it just worked out that way for me, right? So if someone is not doing real estate full time, they could do this as well. If they are doing it full time, again, you can do it. Just set your schedule the way you want your schedule, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the amazing things for me with this system is, you know, I do it at my convenience, and the results I'm getting with with everything I was handling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes, Pres and
Love
I
it.
hear people say they heard about it a while back and they didn't do anything and they still haven't done anything. Was there a period of when you heard it to when you actually took action? Or did you just like the minute you heard, hey, I'm going to use this system, I think it's going to be the answer to my situation of building my profit share?
I kept peeking at it for a few months.
Okay.
Okay. And then I was like, okay, I know I want to do this, but I really want to know more about it before I jump into it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, Linda. I see sometimes the same people on the Zoom, and I'm like, didn't I see them the last 2 months? Right. But again, to your point, like sometimes it just takes getting your head around it because it is different. It's not, most of us are used to hunting to go get business. This is as you said it earlier, the receiving dock. So it takes a minute to get your head around that, to get the confidence, like, can I do this? Is it really going to work? And, you know, the fear around the tech, things like that. So I totally get that.
So Steve, we call, when people recruit someone to Keller Williams, we call it building wealth while you're changing lives. What has been the most unexpected reward from doing all this that you didn't really expect?
That's a good question. I'm still pretty new at this. I think building the relationships, like I have one person, he's still not licensed. He failed it a couple times and he's working on it, but I've almost become his mentor, like his encourager. And his wife even tells him, go call Steve, right?
Oh,
You're in a dump,
That's
go
awesome.
call Steve, right? And so that's been really cool.
yeah.
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 That's so cool.
And honestly, to me, that is so rewarding, knowing that you're entering a person's life. I mean, think about your own self when you were entering real estate, how cool it would have been to have someone lead you to the best companies, which somehow you did get here. But a lot of people don't, right? Get led to the best company with the best tools. And I love hearing the stories about the relationships that all of you guys are building as you bring these people in, and you're kind of paying it forward in a way to and into an industry that's given so much to each of us.
Absolutely.
I love it.
So Steve, in closing, what's the last thing you want to leave our audience with around profit share?
I would say if you're going to do it, you really need to believe in the company, right? And like you were saying, it's not about recruiting. I've never looked at it as recruiting, right? I always call that an ugly word. It's really about knowing what Keller Williams has to offer, how it can change lives, and wanting to share that with others, right? And most people, I realize they don't know anything different than a standard real estate company. And then when they start hearing what Keller Williams actually offers, and they're like, okay, I'm interested, right?
Yeah.
So really believe in the company, be knowledgeable when you're talking with them, know what Keller Williams offers, even if it's a bullet point list, but really dig into what Keller Williams offers and realize Keller Williams isn't for everyone either, right?
Yeah. Well, I love that, Steve. One of the things you shared from our mastermind that just popped in my head as you were saying that, that I haven't even told you yet, is you inspired Josh and I about a resource that we didn't have that we are now, actually, I think we're almost done with it, and we're going to roll it out to all of our members. You made a comment about being knowledgeable about KW. And what I've found in the past is a lot of our people, one of the fears they have is they don't know, in their fear of not knowing what they don't know. And so what we did is we've kind of built out some talking points on the key parts of KW that we know get brought up. Like, we're going to talk about Keller Williams training. So let's have some bullet points that hit Keller Williams training. So if that gets brought up, you can quickly reference and look. So I have to say thank you, because you've helped us level up what we bring to the community, because I think that's a resource that's going to help a lot of people, especially those who are just getting started. Because the good news is, Steve, and you've started to realize this, you start to hear, it's just like sales, right? You start to hear the same thing over and over again. Like, it's not, you're going to hear the same 10 questions, the same 10 fears, the same 10 objections, right? So once you get those down, you kind of have it down. But for our newer members who, are afraid of the unknown, they'll have a cool resource that they can use.
Awesome.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. We learn as much from you guys as y'all do from us. And
Yes,
we are inspired by your stories. And every day I think of other people that could take advantage and change other people's lives by doing what you're doing, which is scheduling a little bit of time each week, being on the receiving dock for those calls of people that are telling you, I want to talk to you about Keller Williams. And so I love it. I get just giddy every time I hear another success story from it. So I'm excited, Steve, for everybody to hear your story.
Thanks.
Awesome.
So, Linda, for our audience who's listening today, 2 resources I want to make sure you know about. The first is if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, this sounds awesome. Like, based on Steve's story, I'm ready to get started. I'm ready to go get my 20 plus people in my downline. You can go to profitsharesites.com and get access to our 14-day trial of that. That's something you can plug into immediately. And then in addition to that, if you're still on the fence and you want to just learn more about profit share, Linda and I do a class every month. And so you can go to profit share. Yeah, it's a free class called Profit. You can just go to profitshareclass.com and you'll see on there exactly how to sign up for our free class that we do, just so you learn more about what the heck is profit share, how does it work, and then ultimately give you the confidence to get started regardless of what path you choose to go down to build your wealth.
Yep, absolutely. Love it. And remember, if you have not hit subscribe, please do that now. And the greatest compliment you can pay Pres and I is to pass this podcast along to any and every KW agent, because we plan on making a movement out of profit share, the beautiful gift that we've been given. The opportunity to go change lives while we build our own wealth is just, you don't come across these kind of opportunities very often in your lifetime. So we want to help you guys do that. So pass this podcast along and be sure and stay tuned next month while we have another great story about changing lives while you're building wealth. Steve, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
Linda, see you next month.
Yeah, I'll see you next month, Pres. Actually, I'll see you in a week. I'll see you in a couple days.
Sure, I'll see you in a couple days, but on the podcast next month.
Yeah, I'll see you on the podcast next month, but in Ohio in a couple of days. One day,
All right.
actually, tomorrow.
All right. Talk soon.